So thankfully, we have Milena, who also, like Emily, graduated from OCADU's Strategic Foresight and Innovation Program, has worn many hats working across healthcare, management consulting, working with the federal government, leading a design team, helping us learn how to host great meetings. So let's have a big round of applause for Milena.
Is this thing on? Yeah. Okay, two takeaways from Shelby's talk. One, I've had HR in every organization I've worked in, and never has it been, described to me in that way. Am I touching this by accident? Apologies. And two, why did it take a designer to explain it to us in a way that we'll understand? You should write a book. My time is on, so hi everyone. Let's talk about meetings. I'm kind of going to keep the train going with this unsexy topic, but it's like very backstage and very relevant to what we do as design leaders. I hope that by the end of this very short segment, by the way, we're going to be out to lunch before you know it, that you will be able to see meetings in a new light. And maybe you're going to feel a little bit motivated to, when you get home to your organizations later this week, try something different, zhuzh up a meeting or two. Over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to be sharing some of my hot takes around why meetings are having a particularly tough time right now, and how we as design leaders can conduct better meetings. If there's time for Q&A, great. If not, I'm also going to be hosting one of the roundtables and at lunch, so we can talk meetings all day long. First, I'd like to introduce myself very quickly. Hello, my name is Milena Tasic. This is my first time at DLS, both attending and speaking, so thank you, Preet and DesignX community for the opportunity. It's been a wonderful session so far. Like many of you, I'm a designer. As you can probably tell by my very governmenty looking slides, I'm not a visual one. And I'm also not a product designer, I'm not a UX designer. My design is in the space of like systems thinking and business design and strategic foresight, but that's all mumbo jumbo. What I want you to know about me as a human being is that I'm an immigrant. I was born in Serbia and I moved to Canada with my family when I was little. I'm a big sister, played basketball growing up like many little Serbians did. And I love the simple things in life, sea, sun, carbs, red wine. Career-wise, I spent some time working in management consulting. And the military was one of my biggest clients. I worked so often with the military that I was given the nickname Military Milena. And working with the military is what you might expect it to be. It's, precise and hierarchical, and everything is on time and it's efficient. And it's because of my time with the military that I learned how to host good meetings. I had to adapt to their environment. This picture is taken at the end of a 3-day workshop we held with the military. And at the end of the session, the commander came up to me and he shook my hand and he very suavely slipped me a challenge coin. It's the round thing I'm holding in my hand. Challenge coin in military culture is a sign of respect and excellence, and to receive one is a pretty high honor. And so me receiving one, I was in shock. You can see on my face, I'm crying because I just don't know what to do with myself. He whispered to me, the commander, this 3-star commander, nonetheless, it's kind of like the CEO of the military. He said, "That was one of the best meetings I've ever been to. Congratulations." I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do with that information. And I thought, I've cracked the code on good meetings. Like I just know how to do them well. And did this little round piece of metal absolutely go to my head? Yes, it did. I walked around the halls of Accenture being like, do you see my little medal? People would be like, there goes Military Milena showing off her medal again. A few years later, I had an opportunity to join the federal government at Veterans Affairs Canada, where I am right now. And government is very different to management consulting. There's a whole private-public sector difference happening. And at the time, Veterans Affairs didn't have a formal innovation function. And so my job was to go there and hire a team, operationalize it, start doing really cool innovation work. No problem. Management consultant, I'm going to take all my tips and tricks, my medal, let's not forget the medal, the challenge coin's coming with me. We're going to go into the government, it's going to be easy. I was so wrong about that because all of a sudden I was in a very human-centered organization, and again, my approach, which was precise and hierarchical and everything was on time and efficient, it had to change to adopt this foundation of human centricity. And it's then that my meetings went from pretty good to frickin' amazing. And so I'm so happy to be sharing some of my lessons learned with you today. Let's talk about the current state of affairs on meetings, or a vibe check on meetings, as the youth will tell me. A lot of people love to hate on meetings, and I'm with you on this. They are time-consuming, they're unproductive, they're too frequent, they're poorly organized, they're expensive, and if you've ever been in charge of like fitting 6 people into a meeting, you know it's annoying to set up. A bunch of stats there, I won't bore you with them, but the one I will call out is that when Shopify, I think last year, announced that they were pretty much doing away with meetings, recurring meetings, it sent a ripple through the rest of the working world because it had every leader asking, should I be doing this as well? And that really scared me. So what's happening? Like, what's going on? I'd wager that a lot of people are having a lot of really bad meetings. You see, and it's not like this in reality, but just for the purpose of the short talk, there's good meetings and there's bad meetings. Bad meetings are the ones where you're on your phone constantly, you're counting down the minutes, it's chaotic, there's lots of jargon. At the end of it or throughout it, you feel drained and frustrated. Then there's good meetings, which is the very opposite of that. It's clear why you're there. You know exactly why you're there. It's focused. You feel included in the conversation. There's a psychological safety that's taking place. You feel open to contributing your thoughts no matter how crazy they are. The meeting's intentional. It's human. I think, this is maybe naive, I think that at one point all meetings were good meetings. And so that got me wondering, how did good meetings go bad? Like, what happened? I started thinking about it and it became very obvious. We started solving for the wrong problem. What was that problem? Productivity. We became obsessed with productivity, and it's not our fault. It's the nature of our capitalist society. Of course, we're going to care about productivity, right? What did productivity give us as a solution? Tools, tools, tools. Tools, 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 tools. Like, you're looking at these and you're like, I use that. Of course you do. We have tools for scheduling and task tracking and collaborative agendas and note-taking and AI-powered meetings and summaries and transcription, translation, whatever. We even have tools to make meetings obsolete. But none of these tools are helping us to navigate group dynamics. None of these tools are turning group discussions into action plans. None of these tools are helping us to learn more about each other as human beings. The fact is that meetings in general are important and we should not be doing away with them. But there are some meetings, especially if they're bad, we don't need them, we don't need them. The good meetings are the ones that we want to keep. They're the ones that count. And good meetings are about so much more than productivity. They're about gathering, coming together to solve complex problems. They're about human connection, listening. They're about making others feel welcome, making them feel like they belong. This whole summit, the past day and a half, has been a very good meeting. Thank you, Aiko. Thank you, everyone who's celebrated in this coming together to solve complex problems. This is what it's about. I've got you kind of interested in good meetings, sure. But how? How are we going to do this? Okay, so I'll say this, looking at a room full of seasoned designers and folks who've been in design leadership perhaps a long time. I don't need to give you a master class on how to host a good meeting. You're already doing a great job as it is. So let's take this as almost a grain of salt or a prompt to reframe, to see the meetings in a different light. And in fact, there is no one-size-fits-all for how to host a good meeting, and that's because each meeting is going to be different. It's going to depend on the purpose of your meeting and the audience of your meeting. And when I say meeting, don't just think of it as like the meeting that you have with your team weekly or the meetings that you have one-on-one with your employees. This is a meeting. We're gathered. A meeting is a workshop. A meeting is a co-creation session, right? So each of them is going to have a different way of going about it. There are, however, through my experiences, a set of best practices or kind of foundations that we can draw on to help us achieve these better meetings. For today, we're not going to cover all of them. I'm going to click into just the ones that are highlighted, which are know your audience, don't skip the icebreakers or warm-ups, and listening. Okay? So first things first, audience. I can't stress this enough. A meeting is not about the person hosting it. So right now, my talk isn't about me. It's about you. And I'm understanding that this is a multi-way conversation. It's not about me coming and orating. So in order for you to reframe that a meeting is about your audience, I've put up some guiding questions. Next time you go into a meeting, I want you to think about who is your audience? What do they already know? What do they need to know by the end of the meeting? What does success look like? What is the ideal experience you want them to have? To make it a little bit sexier for you, some of us are experience designers. Designing your meeting is the same thing. You are doing experience design. Think of it in that way, okay? How do you want your audience to feel at the end of the meeting? What do they need to take away from it? Speaking about audience, the very first thing that you have to know and anticipate is that everybody is wondering what is in it for them. So at the top of your session, your meeting, your co-creation session, whatever it is, tell people what they're getting into. Tell them. I learned this from the military. It's been an invaluable piece of advice, and that is tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. People want to know. Number 2, don't skip the icebreaker. And I mean this even in the 5-minute stand-ups that you have every day with your teams, because your team is the exact same as you in that moments prior to joining your gathering, for whatever reason you're gathering, they were off doing something else, a completely different task. So they're bringing that energy in with them. You need to help them with the transition into the focus of your meeting. Help them transition, and it doesn't have to be complex. I love using these 1 to 9 scale things. You Google them as 100. This is sheep. People like to react and tell you they're a 9 or a 1, okay? What goes after this icebreaker is, oh, hold on, I forgot I did this. Okay, so I hadn't left the house in like 4 years, and I don't know if Drake is still relevant to Toronto, but let's try this really quickly. I thought, knowing my audience, you're all coming to Toronto, let's try it. Instead of me telling you, icebreaker's awesome, please take just like 30 seconds, person to your left, person to your right. On a scale of Drake, how are you feeling today? Okay, let's bring it back. I love it. You're gonna have to tell me which Drake you are at lunch. But what's happening right now is that all of a sudden you are a little bit more focused on what I'm about to say next. And that is amazing. If you hit people with one of these at the top of a session, they're lasered in. And you may have just met somebody new. According to the rest of this conference, though, we've been meeting each other for the past 48 hours, so unlikely. What comes after asking a question like this, especially at the top of a meeting, is listening. Okay, so right now, I'm standing too far away from you to have actually heard what you said, which Drake you were. But if you told me, 80% of you are hitting around like the 1, 2, 3 Drake mark, meaning you're upset for some reason, I'd have to stop what I was planning to do and repurpose my meeting so I can address where you are. That's what listening is. Again, it's about the audience. It's not about coming up here and driving your point home. It's about meeting your audience where they are and adjusting your plan to make sure that your team feels safe. So lean on empathy and improv. And while you're doing this, my advice to you is be a duck. I hope ducks are everywhere where you live. If they are not, ducks, when they're on the water, they're very calm, they're serene, they're just floating around. But underneath, what's happening is that they're moving their feet so quickly, we can't see them. That's what, as design leaders, we have to be doing, just being chill, rolling with the punches. And that comes from listening. So as I wrap up, the key here is that meetings are about people. They are not about productivity. So please, please reframe that. It's a beautiful opportunity for you to be gathering with humans, whether you know them very well or you don't know them at all. Prioritize your people. I said the exact same thing just earlier in the few slides. Good meetings are about gathering, coming together to solve complex problems. They're about human connection. They're about listening, making others feel welcome, making them feel like they belong. Life is hard enough. We do not need to make meetings hard. They can be easy. With that, I want to thank you. If you scan this little dino thing, it will take you to my LinkedIn. You can connect with me there or use the other bits of info here, but not X. I just put that there because everybody else seems to have one. I don't ever go on it. Thank you so much. Oh, we have 15 seconds left. I will be hosting a roundtable if you want to talk about meetings or complex problems and designing our way through them. I'm also going to be at lunch, so hit me up.